Hey guys, I'm Avi and I'm a CrossFit coach and weightlifting coach based in New York, and I'm going to be chatting about exercise stuff today. So what I want to do is I want to break things down in terms of specific goals. Some of y'all might want to get bigger, stronger, or have greater speed and endurance. Some of y'all might want all of that. So we're gonna be talking about each one separately so that we can identify how exactly we should be working towards those specific goals. Before I get into all of that, however, I want to talk about safety, um, because regardless of your goals, it doesn't matter if you're big, strong, or fast if you're laid up with an injury. I therefore want to go over some of the most common errors I see that lead to the worst injuries, and we're going to work from the ground up. So when completing slow lifts, so we're talking squats, deadlifts, strict presses, things like that, we always want to keep our heels on the ground. Doing so, our heels leaving the ground puts a lot of pressure on our calf muscles and our knees, and neither of them are built to withstand heavy weights like that. When we're squatting, we need to make sure that our knees stay behind our toes and our knees stay in line with the direction our feet are pointing. Knees traveling in front of our toes, again, puts a lot of pressure on our knees that they're not built for. And keeping our knees in line with our toes ensures that we're lifting with the correct muscle groups. Now, for just about every single lift you can think of, we need to maintain a neutral spine. So I say neutral instead of flat because if you look at if you look at the spine, it's not flat. It's got curves to it. So as soon as we lose this inward curve of the lower back, like that, or our shoulders start to collapse forward like that, we start using these tiny muscles in our backs that aren't built to lift heavy weights like that. So if you ever feel like you're losing your neutral spine, simply stop lifting and maybe try again with a lower weight. Lastly, simply just be gentle on your shoulders. If you start to feel pain in your shoulder joint, and I'm not talking about the muscles surrounding the joint, just lay off and ease back into training, making sure that you're pain-free. First, let's talk about bodybuilding. Now, when I use the term bodybuilding, I'm talking about the literal act of making your body bigger. I'm not necessarily talking about, those greased up dudes flexing on stage in Speedos. That's called physique. Physique training is very similar to bodybuilding. It's just absolutely coupled with a very, very strict diet. The training we do to build muscle is called hypertrophy training. Hypertrophy is defined as the enlargement of bodily tissues. In this case, we're talking about muscle tissue. We achieve hypertrophy by getting our muscles really tired, by completing relatively large sets with relatively short rest periods. This may look something like 3 sets of 10 with 90 seconds of rest in between. Now we can apply this concept to just about any movement: squats, deadlifts, shoulder press, bicep curl, push-ups, whatever. As long as we're hitting those big sets with short rest and getting our muscles wicked tired, we're probably on the right track. I'll give you a couple examples though. Let's say we're working with a weighted movement. We'll take back squats, for example. We're going to look to gently increase the weight each week while hitting the same set. So if I'm working on back squats, it might look something like this. Week 1, 3 sets of 10 at 275. Week 2, again, 3 sets of 10 at 285, so just going up by 10s. The next week, 295, then 305, then 315. At 315, I'll probably be good. If we're working on a body weight movement like push-ups, since we're not increasing weight, we're going to look to gently increase the reps each week, making sure to maintain unbroken sets. So for me, I would go for something like week 1, 5 sets of 18, then 5 sets of 21, then 24, then 27, then 30. So in both of these, we're only increasing by small amounts each week, but we're looking to work towards making this big stride over the 5-week period. So if you look at the first weight compared to the second weight, the first set to the last set, we're going from 275 to 315, going from 18 to 30. Those are pretty huge improvements. Last bit here, you gotta fuel this kind of work. Pulling off this kind of volume, especially if you're lifting heavy, requires a hell of a lot of food. I'll actually increase my caloric intake by about like 1,000 calories per day when I'm on a heavy lifting cycle like this. This way, my muscles have enough food to rebuild themselves between sessions. So next, let's talk about strength. Strength differs from bodybuilding in a whole lot of ways. So first, let's define strength as the ability to lift heavy things, not moderately heavy things for a lot of reps, not light things quickly. We're lifting heavy things once up to a handful of times, and that's it. A common error here is conflating size with strength. Having a lot of muscles doesn't necessarily mean that the person can lift heavy weights. Unlike bodybuilding, the training necessary for building strength isn't dependent on hypertrophy. Instead, we're kind of doing the exact opposite. We're working with smaller sets with longer rest periods in between. This is not only going to, improve our ability to lift heavy weights physically, but also our brain's ability to deal with the stress of lifting these heavy weights. So the people who lift the most in the world are powerlifters, so we'll use them as an example. Powerlifters do 3 lifts. They work on the bench press, deadlift, and back squat. They usually lift only 3 times a week, so like Monday, Wednesday, Friday. On Monday, they'll do something for each lift, something like 5 sets of 5. Next training day, 5 sets of 5, 4, 3, 3, 2. And on the last day of the week, on Friday, they'll do sets of like 3, 2, 2, 1, 1. So again, super low volume compared to bodybuilding, but they're looking to lift heavy weights here, much heavier weights. When you're going for strength, you won't need to eat as much as you would if you were bodybuilding, but you still need to make sure that you're fueling your workouts adequately. I address all of this in my nutrition video, so you should check that out too. Next, let's talk about engine. I like to use the word engine to describe speed, stamina, endurance, conditioning. We all have different words for it here, but I like to use the word engine. Having a great engine allows you to keep working and working quickly and properly when you're really tired. Unlike strength, which will take years to build, you can build your engine in a matter of months. It's really not that much of a task to take on here. We do this by completing workouts that get our heart rate up and keep it there. So we're going to call these conditioning workouts. What's great about this kind of work is that you can do it with a limited amount of equipment, space, and time. The movements that we're looking at here, we're talking about like air squats, burpees, lunges, sit-ups, push-ups, box jumps, jumping squats, running, biking, rowing, swimming, and really any lighter weightlifting movement. Putting these movements together in various combinations and for varying amounts of time will build your engine. So give you an example workout here. We could all try the following. Do 10 rounds of 10 push-ups, 10 air squats, 10 burpees, and 10 sit-ups. So once you finish those sit-ups, you go back again to the push-ups and keep going for 10 rounds of all that. If you're new to this kind of work, test the waters out by moving a little bit more slowly at first. And then once you know you're comfortable with this kind of work, get faster and faster and really try to push it. For these conditioning workouts, we're looking at anywhere between 10 and 30, maybe 40 minutes. Don't need to be super duper long. Now, some of you might be saying to yourselves, all of that sounds good. I want to be bigger, stronger, and faster. That sounds great. I agree. That's what I want to do too. And it's totally doable. But if we're looking to be a more well-rounded athlete, in other words, not specialized in one of these areas, we need to be doing all of this stuff. But if we're doing all this stuff, we need to make sure that we're being smart about recovering well and not just crushing ourselves with too much work. So over the course of a week, you're going to want to split things up so that you're not just lifting heavy every single day. That is actually bad for you. So my ideal week will look something like this. Monday, I'll do a higher volume lifting, kind of like a bodybuilding piece with a shorter conditioning workout. So I'm talking like 10 to 20 minute workout. Then on Tuesday, I'll go for a longer conditioning piece, so something like 20 to 30 minutes, and some gymnastic bodybuilding like push-ups, pull-ups, something like that. Wednesday, I'll go on the heavier side, so more of a powerlifting thing with a shorter conditioning piece. Thursday, I'll rest. Rest is super important. We need to make sure that our body's recovering adequately. Then Friday, back at it. Go again for some high volume lifting. Maybe choose a different lift than I did on Monday. So instead of squatting, maybe I'll deadlift, something like that. And then a shorter conditioning piece. Saturday, go long on the conditioning with some extra bodybuilding, maybe some midline work. Sunday, again, take the day off. Now, because this is my job, I'm a weightlifting coach, it's pretty easy for me to hold myself to this kind of schedule. And I understand that that's very much not the case with most people. But even just using these things as a guideline to work from will help you move in the right direction, whatever you're looking to get at. All right. So again, hope that was informative. And I'm happy to correspond if you have specific questions for me. Please check out the nutrition video as well. Take care.